Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Made You Book. My name's Gretchen and today I'm going to be talking about one of the final two books that I have left to review from the Booker Prize Longlist. And yes, I did mean to say longlist. When the shortlist was announced in September, toward the end of September, I still had two books left to read. I had started reading one and I just didn't have time to get them finished prior to the shortlist being announced. The book I'm going to talk about today did not make the shortlist, but I always like to read the long list in its entirety, and I figured I would do reviews for them regardless, just in case they are books that you might want to check out. So the book we're going to talk about today is All the Little Bird Hearts by Viktoria Lloyd-Barlow. Now, this book follows our main character, Sunday, and Sunday is autistic, and she has a 16-year-old daughter named Dolly, and Dolly, being 16, is kind of at that age where she is looking to find her independence, and she is kind of pulling away from her mother as she gets closer to her own adulthood. And Sunday is kind of grappling with that, with the change in the dynamic of their relationship. So as Sunday is kind of going through this, they get new neighbors, and they are very eccentric, they have money, and they are kind of like they're like a storm that has blown in. Vida, who is the wife, she is very almost chaotic. Like, she is very she's very much a free spirit. She kind of doesn't commit to anything. She's kind of all over the place. She lives for the moment. She could even maybe be considered flighty. Like, that's kind of the impression that I got from her. She's just kind of all over the place. She's quite eccentric, and you never really know what you're going to get from her. She's very much all over the place. And then her husband, Rollo, he is more of the grounding spouse. So I think he keeps her not in line or in check, but he kind of pulls her back down a little more to reality. He's definitely the more sensible, I would also say maybe emotionally intelligent person within their relationship. He's not there all the time. He lives in the house technically with her, but he does a lot of work in London, and he's kind of back and forth, and a lot of times Vida is there alone, and during those trips where her husband is away, she spends a lot of time with Sunday, and they start to bond and develop this relationship. Now, Sunday is very much enamored by Vida. I think that it's just such a difference from the way that Sunday lives her life, and she's just very intrigued by it, and she finds her very fascinating, and Vida is very quickly able to win Sunday's trust and affection in some ways. Now, they start this kind of tradition where Vida and Rollo will have Dolly and Sunday over for dinners on Friday. So Dolly has now kind of been pulled into the world of Vida and Rollo, and she is starting to see kind of how the other half lives. So with Sunday being autistic, she has very strict habits and rituals, and this is something that Dolly has just kind of become used to, and it's been a part of her life, and she is starting to get to the point in her life where those those behaviors from her mother are starting to have a negative impact on Dolly. Dolly is seeing them less as being, charming and just, chalking it up as that's the way her mother is. And she's getting increasingly more frustrated with it. And then now that she's spending more time with Vida and Rollo, she is seeing that it's kind of putting a larger microscope on Sunday's behaviors and making Dolly kind of resent her mother even more. So even though Sunday is embracing this relationship with Vida and Rollo, there are things that are kind of unfolding and happening, and there's a power shift and a dynamic shift that she maybe doesn't have as much, she can't maybe see it as well as us, the reader, do. So we can see the warning signs, but Sunday is not able to process that. And she is aware of things to an extent, but we obviously as the reader can get more and see the bigger picture of where the story is heading. So I don't want to give too much more away because I don't want to get into like spoiler territory or anything. But I think that ultimately the major plot of the story is that relationship and how we get that pulling away of the daughter and the way that that makes Sunday feel. And I will be perfectly honest and say that I did not get along with this book at the beginning. As a matter of fact, I started this book like probably maybe like September 19th or 20th, and I literally just finished it a couple days ago on Halloween. So I kept picking it up, I kept putting it down, picking it up, putting it down, and it wasn't because I wasn't interested in the story. Like, I knew that there was going to be something that happened, but I was just really looking for more, for lack of a better term, excitement in the story. I was looking for like maybe just like these little events to kind of build intrigue or, just kind of like whet the appetite to know that there's something bigger that's coming further down the pike. And I just felt that it was a lot of time that was just spent on the buildup, and that was potentially maybe intentional from the author, but I really just struggled, and I was just, oh, please, just can we get to the juicy bits? Can we get to the meat of the story? And I know that there was like a lot of suspense that was built, and by the time that we got to that point and we kind of saw what was happening and we learned, where the story was going, it did pick up. And after I got to that point, I very much started enjoying the story and I got into it. And once I got to that certain point, I was able to quickly get through the end, or get through to the end of the story. What I did like about this book is that, first of all, the writing is stunning. There were so many passages and pages that I had to stop and reread a paragraph, or just kind of, you sit there and savor the words that were on the page, because Lloyd-Barlow's writing was just so beautiful. And it wasn't just the beauty of the prose. with this is one thing I didn't mention about this book is that Victoria Lloyd-Barlow also has autism. So this is an Own Voices book. So you could tell that when we were reading about Sunday's character, that Sunday's character came from a place that Victoria Lloyd-Barlow was familiar with. She has felt the same feelings that Sunday did, and it was almost like, I don't want to say that it was semi-autobiographical because I don't know if that's the case, but you can definitely tell that Sunday was portrayed in a way, and she was portrayed so well because of Victoria Lloyd-Barlow's autism and her being able to relate and present it in a way that a lot of readers may have never had insight to. And I absolutely loved that part of the book. I think that she did such an impeccable job of that. And as a matter of fact, there was one specific passage that I highlighted, and I just want to read it to you because it is just so, it's just absolutely perfect, and it just sets the tone for exactly what Sunday was feeling, and it really gave me as a reader better insight of what they actually go through, and or I'm sorry, what Sunday actually was going through, and how that impacts her from day to day. And so basically, to kind of set up the passage, something terrible had happened in Sunday's past, and she's kind of reflecting on it. And it's been 20 years since the event. So basically the passage starts out talking about, in the 20 years since that event, she says, I have tried to live above the surface, but my condition did not remain in my childhood. It will not be confined to my little house by the lake or be discarded along with all those perfect little fish bones. This difference accompanies me, uninvited, and I exist uncomfortably in the shallows. I can pass as one of you for a time until I am submerged again. When it comes to claim me, it is sometimes the relief of summer broken by cool water, and sometimes an undertow that drags me beneath. And I just thought that that description is absolutely perfect. And there was so much of that type of writing in this book, and it was a delight to read. My only complaint, like I said, is that for me, it just took a little too long to build up. And if there had just been a little more excitement, a little more kind of events or things like that happening earlier on, I think that I would have flown through this book, and it would have been one of my favorites from the long list. What I will say is that even though this wasn't my favorite book from the Booker long list, Sunday is definitely my favorite character that I've read from any of the books that have been long listed and eventually shortlisted, fully knowing I have one more book to read, which is How to Build a Boat. But Sunday's character, I absolutely adored her. My heart broke for her. To see what she was going through and to get all of that from her point of view was fantastic. And also to kind of not only see things from her point of view or hear things from her point of view, but also the way that the author was able to portray the people around Sunday and how they were acting and how they were responding to Sunday and what she like kind of what she was doing as far as her habits and rituals go, due to her autism. So we can see all of the judgment from other people. We can see all of the backhanded compliments. We can see all of the insults that are being flung at Sunday, and her not really fully understanding or being aware that that's happening. And my heart was breaking for her at so many times through this book. And I think that it was such a side of, or a point of view that I have never really been able to see before. Anytime I have seen autism portrayed, it's been usually in film or on TV, where we're seeing everything that's happening, and it's not from a point of view of a person. Whereas this is the point of view of that person that has autism, and we are seeing everything going on around them through their eyes and their thoughts. And I really appreciated the book for that. And Sunday is by far, one of my favorite characters. And Victoria Lloyd-Barlow has a gift of being able to channel that point of view, and did it in such an eloquent and beautiful way. So I settled on 3.5 stars for this book. I think that, like I said, if there was just a little more happening at the beginning and I could have gotten into it more, I think it could have easily been a 4-star. One other thing that I will say that could have had an impact on my enjoyment of the book at the beginning is that I very much like to listen to an audio while I read the physical and annotate and things like that. And the audio is not available in the States yet, or at least it wasn't at the time that I was reading it. And I think that sometimes having the audio sometimes helps propel me through those books that kind of have those sections that maybe lag a little bit or maybe drag on, and I didn't have that available to me. So I'm wondering, if I did have that audio, if I would have been able to get through that part of the book a little more, and enjoy the beginning more than I did. But I wouldn't not recommend the book. I definitely think it's worth a read. Like I said, just kind of from my personal experience, the beginning was just a little slow, but for me, the ending and how the story wrapped up and everything at the end definitely paid off. So that was All the Little Bird Hearts by Victoria Lloyd-Barlow. If you have read this book, let me know what your thoughts are. I have one more Booker Longlist review to do. I started the book a couple days ago and it's going well so far. We're just at the beginning of November. I plan to participate in Nonfiction November, so I was thinking about maybe putting a video together of maybe some nonfiction suggestions that I've enjoyed, and then kind of talk about the ones that I plan on reading. But until then, we'll see you next time. Bye.